A lot of rats in the spring of the year. And actually muskrat, people don't realize that muskrat floats work just as well in the fall as they do in the spring. When the water's going up, you get a lot of rain in the fall and the water starts to rise, the rats will crawl on just as well as they will in the spring. So that's something for you to think about. And generally speaking, we get a couple high water periods in the fall, and if you get a bunch of these floats out, set them up, you'll be surprised how many rats you catch along with your other stuff. And the only time you really have to check them is right during a rain, because once the water crest starts to drop back down, the rats don't use them anymore. And there's all different kinds of ways to build floats. And I built most of them all those ways one time or another. And I make most of mine right now to basically these. And I got Duke coils because that's what I'm using most of the time, and I don't buy different wrap or different coils for these traps. But you notice these are all made out of cedar. And what I do is get big chunks of cedar. A friend of mine, we don't have cedar down here, but that's a lot of firewood. He'll cut me cedar, big chunks, and I split them out. And I'll take two, put another piece on the bottom like that. And then make yourself some cedar shakes and cut them up. And you put them in there with your trap. Don't matter what kind of trap, or you kind of wedge there the way you want it. And you got to play with them a little bit. Every one of these is built for a particular way for it to go in there. This one was built to go in there just like that. Now this goes, we have a staple on both ends, a fence staple here, that staple off from there. This one gets a trap wire too, the other one gets a wire that goes to the bank. Real simple, real fast to put in. And if you got a bunch of rats around, you want to catch rats in the fall just as well as the spring, try this. Now, I don't use bait on them. A lot of guys use bait on floats. I don't do that, because if you start using bait, like you drive a nail in there and stick an apple or a carrot on, the trouble is if you do that, you're going to catch a lot of ducks, and we don't like to catch ducks. So you'll notice all these have a hole drilled in them, one way or the other, sometimes both sides. And what we use is put a liquid type lure in there, and then you don't catch the ducks. When the rat comes in, he'll crawl. It don't matter which way he comes in, he's going to crawl up on it. I don't like to put a lot of chain on it. Just about that much chain. Fine. One twist, I don't have to double it. Another thing, if you happen to use apples on these for bait, when you're in beaver country, you're going to find out those beaver will be running off with your floats, because beaver love apples. And we can take this and wear it out on this chain like that. Put it out. And the places you want to use these floats is not out where you got much of a current in a river or anything. Use it along the setbacks. Get it back in your setbacks, not in the main current. Because when the water's coming up, the rats are going back in the setbacks, so the water's dead water. And that's where you want your floats. Not unless you're putting them in the carpet. Press them down. Here's just a good place together. You work along the belly. Get out there in the water a little bit. But when this water starts coming up, when this water comes up, you get a flood period. Hell, it'll come up there a foot and a half. That's when your floats are working. How you do it. Run them up to the bush here, and you're on your way. There's all kinds of ways of making floats, but these are the quickest, fastest, as far as I'm concerned. You want to carry them out with in your canoe or in your vehicle. And it's all right to run around and notch out logs if you got time. You might be getting a good shower right now and start working in about 2 nights. This water comes up about a foot. Simple as that. And you can carry a lot of these kind of floats. every book or any video you've probably ever seen on trapping beaver in open water. Everybody talks about using scent mound sets and grounding wires and all this. Well, when I was in California, I used to catch several hundred beaver or more every year. And all I had out there when I was in Northern California was my coyote traps. I didn't have any conibears to work with, but I had some awfully good beaver country. And I got into using this method out there for trapping coons and beaver both, and I never had any problems with it. I lost very, very few. So pay attention to what I'm telling you. I don't have time for grounding wires. I don't have time to drag up a lot of rocks. I don't have time to put rocks and carry them and put them in bags. If you got time to do that, there's nothing wrong with it. That's a proper way to do it, because you'll lose very few beaver that way. But I'm here to tell you that you lose very few beaver if you set your traps the way I'm telling you to. Now, I don't like to put them up against the bank. I like to pick a beaver here. I use all these along river bottoms and edges of ponds, whatnot. I'm not too fussy about where I make the set as long as the beaver's working nearby. Now, we're going to assume that beaver's really working this dam. They've been out of it all summer. They moved in here and they moved back out. But they're just up the creek. I know they're going to move back down there, and this is just such an ideal place to make a set that I wanted to pick this place. But we'll assume we got activity all over there. Now, there's no problem getting a beaver up to a set. And the thing that'll bring them up to a set more than anything else, we're going back to the slick up now, the slick in this bag. And of course, we all know the value of a caster mound. And a caster mound is nothing more than a bunch of mud pushed up here with some ore on it. And that's it. It's a marking thing. Beaver comes along, he marks his territory with that. And he pushes a pile of mud up in there with some grass in it, maybe a little grass, a little mud. He makes a little mud pie. Some guys call them mud pies. I don't know what to call them. Just a caster mound. So you got this pushed up here like this. Little shot of beaver lure on it. But the only thing is, unless you're bringing the beaver in on a real shallow water and making him, putting him on his feet out there, you're going to miss a lot of beaver with it. For instance, if you put it over there and you got 3 or 4 inches of water and it drops off fast, the beaver comes in fast. A lot of times he drags his chest up over your trap, and you're going to lose him. You're going to have a miss. If you're going to do that, you got to use bigger traps, set further out, set deeper, and use bigger traps to compensate for it. These are the only traps I use, mostly for beaver. Number 2 Northwoods offset. I'm sorry, that's what I use. I don't use many 3s or 4s. I don't use too many 750s. I got them, and I use them in particular spots at particular times. But for these sets, scent mound sets, I don't use them. I use like a number 2 coil. And I don't want any more chain on it than that. The shorter you keep the chain, the less chances you are to lose a beaver. I don't try to drown them. I don't try to spend 20 minutes putting out a drowning rig. Nothing wrong with it if you got the time for it. I haven't. I like to set a lot of traps. So if you're going to make a scent mound, bring him in on shallow water. You put his feet, you put him down on his feet. Make him walk. If you can't make him walk, you're going to miss a lot of beaver. And if you're going to bring him in, the water drops off fast, move back, set your trap deep. If you're going to do it right, use a big trap. Then you can set it down there 8-10 inches deep and catch them by a hind foot. But with a big trap, if you get him by a hind foot with a 5 or a 750, if you get him up over the joint, you're going to foot him just as fast as you will with a front foot. Believe it. So a lot of guys will say, well, I catch them by the hind foot, they can't pull out. Well, you get them up over there and they break that bone. It's just like a muskrat. They're gone. So I prefer, if beaver have been trapped a lot, all the caster mound is a scent post. He's marking his territory. Beaver are marking their territory. They push this mud up here, and they emit some caster on it. That's just marking his territory. And every other beaver come along, he'll do the same thing and mark it over. But the trouble is, a lot of beaver start pushing mud in on these. Now you get in the south, where you got a lot of beaver all along the river bottoms. You can look down through the river bottoms, and some of the scent mounds there, they'll have pushed up maybe 4 foot in air. They'll be 10 foot in diameter. And you can see them down through there for every I can see a half a dozen of them there in 100 yards. I mean, they look like small beaver houses. And every beaver that comes along there digs down in and he hogs up that mud, leaves off the bottom and adds a little bit to more and puts some caster on it. Now, if you're going to set places like that, you're going to have an awful lot of sprung traps. And when you're new at it, that's the places you run up and you set all your traps on those. But you got to understand that unless that water is real shallow, if this water here is a foot deep or 6 inches deep, when he comes into the scent mound, he'll be hogging mud ahead of him. He'll be pushing mud and leaves up on your scent mound before he climbs up on it. And a lot of times he's pushing your trap right up on top of the mound, or he's springing it. So I don't have time to reset a lot of traps. So make your scent mound over here. Just push that mud up like that and go ahead and lure it. Okay, there's mirror lure. I'll stick it right in there like that. Now you're in business, right? No, you're not. Okay. Now if you want to catch all these beaver, they're going to be hogging mud up on your scent mound. Come over here and make your set over here. Take a little spot like this. And muck that out a little bit. Puddle it up. You don't want much water on that trap at all. None. And you bring them in real slow. You bring them in on this. Take our wire, double our wire. I know there's a lot of beaver trappers going to be watching me out there and saying, I got a lot of bullshit and Christmas turkey, but this is the way I do it. Now, I got my down in there. Keep that chain short. And I also put another thing I didn't explain to you, and I will now. I also run shock cords on all these. Shock springs, I should say. Shock spring like that. And swivels. Swivel and shock springs will keep you from putting beaver or anything else. Use just a little dab, a little chain. That's all the chain you want on that sucker. Enough where you can set your trap. And we'll just stick down in. Plug it in the rest a little bit. Build your little puddle here, like a little bowl. Put your trap right in there like that. I always like to set the dog out myself. Everybody tells me it's ass backwards, but it works good for me. Take a few leaves, fold it over, set it as shallow as you possibly can. If you can set it just where it's level with the water, so much better. Set it just the way you would a slick up set. Now, we use the scent mound to draw the beaver in. Because when the beaver comes in, and he's hogging up your mud and your leaves to push it up on your scent mound, he isn't messing with this over here. And when you put a nice sprig of popple up here, he's going to come up and cut that off. That's the first thing he's going to do right there. As long as he's coming up to that scent mound, he's going to go for that popple. You're in business. That's the only way I trap beaver. Those beaver, when you got a short chain on them, an offset number 2, they'll be sitting right here with the front foot in the trap. They won't fight it. Don't give them any more chain than you absolutely have to. If you do, don't give them over 1.5 feet at the most. Or maybe you might have to have a situation where you got real deep mud. You got to use a sash weight and push it all the way down in. Then you got to use that maybe full 2 foot. But you want short chain on him. Don't give him nothing to run with. And make damn sure you don't have a beaver cutting sticking up anywhere you can tangle around. If you can tangle around a little stub like that, you've lost him. You're going to foot him. Don't have anything you can tangle on at all. And that's all I do. I'm sorry. I don't lose many beaver. And I don't lose any coon. So I make it simple for you. That's all you need to know, open water. Unless you're trapping trails. Set your scent mound, let your scent mound draw them in. But go off to the side a few feet and stick a piece of popple, nice fresh popple just like it grew there, in there, and that's where you're going to get your beaver. You're not going to have to worry about pushing mud up on your feet, up on your feet pile. Now if you really, really get trap shy beaver, and I mean ones that's lost some feet or toes or whatnot, you're going to hit a lot of these colonies. Colonies that you trap or everybody else has trapped for years, you're going to hit the old females in there and they get real trap shy. And really I don't want them. I like them females, they're money in the bank. But if you got to take them out, complaint work or something, try mixing a little bit of, this is another little secret I probably shouldn't be telling you, but mix a little buckwheat honey with your beaver caster and put it up there on your caster mount. And the reason this works so good, a beaver doesn't like it, he hates it. And when he comes in, don't ever use it at your set, because when he comes in, he'll come in hogging butt. And when you'll turn on it and you'll cover that sucker, cover it all up. If you got a trap set, you're going to blow him. But use it to pull him into the sight and then catch him over here a couple foot away with that piece of popple. That's all I got to say about that. I hope I make it simple for you.